So without further ado, let me invite back onto stage our CTO and SVP of Engineering, Ravi, who you saw earlier today, David Hackney, and Matt Carabine from our engineering teams. Give them a big hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all awake. I'm really fighting my jet lag.
Someone put a high wire there.
Let me not pour it. So this is the part of the day that really I look forward to. I go to many of these sort of conferences and stuff like that. So where's the real action? You don't want someone just standing up there and talking. This is when, so to say, I back up all my talk. So that's the excitement for us. We want to show you the platform capabilities in action. And like Peter mentioned, we'll take some chances. And if you fail, please graciously start looking at your phones or something else. But the whole idea is to show you what we mean, as in the platform will stand and perform, and it is built for failures. When failures happen, it will gracefully be able to sort of withstand that and yet preserve the customer experience. That's, in one sense, what we want to showcase to you, and this is the exciting part of the day for us. So without further ado, my cohorts in crime here, I will invite David to give us a sense of what these guys have cooked up, and I'll reserve my commentary to just the color commentary part of it, where I can give you a perspective of when something is happening, it is not as effortless as it seems. There's a lot that's going on underneath the covers, and let me just highlight those to you. With that, David.
Perfect.
Take it away.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, everyone. Delighted to be here. So the plan is, in the next 30 minutes or so, to take you all on the journey of a digital transformation. Start with a very simple web application and show you why we believe the features of the Couchbase data platform are able to deliver a truly incredible customer experience. Now, here we are in quite a fabulous venue. I'm sure you'll agree, Ravi.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
You feel like singing a song?
No, that's why I have you here, at least.
Okay, very good.
At least he can fake a British accent.
And here we are.
This is a genuine one, by the way.
Great to be in London. Obviously, one of the, as Peter alluded to earlier, one of the financial powerhouses of the world. So what we thought we'd do is give the demo a financial twist today. So this is where our journey starts. So we've built a simple stock trading application. So you'll see up on the screen behind me, you'll see stock symbol names, you'll see company names, you'll see the prices. Matt, if we could open the market now.
Market is open.
We'll start to see the prices fluctuating. Now, I will warn you that, yes, you should recognize some of the company names, but we're making the prices up. So if you look and you see, wow, Tesco's jumped 300%, don't go screaming out the room to phone your broker. It's all made up. Now, as has been mentioned, this is all completely live updates, live cluster, live stress.
Totally.
And for it to be truly live, we need your participation. In order to do so, we're going to give each and every one of you £500. Woo! You heard that right. We're giving each and every one of you 500 virtual worthless pounds to spend on their application. So we'll invite you in a moment to participate, but first let's show how that's done.
Please.
Ravi, you strike me as a man of means and a shrewd investor. Let me give you 500 virtual pounds to spend here. Who'd you like the look of? So I'm going to enter a username for you. There goes Ravi.
I would, how about a Netflix?
Netflix? I've been watching them for some time.
Good.
I would recommend Sky if you're in the market.
Yes. How about Amazon?
Amazon, they tend to deliver.
And what else do you recommend?
Tesco might be a good one to check out.
He's my broker these days.
Well, so we've got Tesla, could take them for a spin.
Absolutely.
No, not so much Coke, they've gone a bit flat.
You know, actually, I have to tell you, David has also taken this flexible, that we call in the data model, one step further, because he's got a very flexible pricing also going on here. Okay. He's taking liberties.
So, Ravi, what we've gone for? We've gone for some Amazon, some Tesco, Base Corp.
Base Corporation, that's the one I've always been eyeing. This is a company that's got good bones. It's going to go places.
Hit submit. And the order is placed. So now we invite each of you. I don't know if you can quite see this URL if you're on Mars, but please do so now. Take out your phones, your laptops, visit the following URL, bit.ly, and just as we did with Ravi there, please enter a username, select 5 stocks. Your £500 are going to be apportioned equally across each of those stocks, and then hit submit.
Please be careful with your profile names there. Don't use your Tinder profiles here.
There will be a prize for our best investors today, so please use something that we can easily identify you by. And feel free to have a couple of goes if you like. Now, while you're placing the orders, maybe tell you something a little bit about the application. So everything here is written in Python. It's using the latest version of the Python SDK, using an asynchronous framework, Twisted, to deliver the raw performance out of the platform. And all of the data that we're collecting, the price updates, the investments, portfolios that you're making are in JSON documents. So JSON for the prices and the companies, JSON for the portfolio.
And just the fact that it's all live should come across to you because you're going to those URL and entering the prices. You'll shortly see that here. And this is all running in public cloud someplace?
Yep, we'll show you the topology shortly.
Fantastic.
Now, in a real application, you might use something like Spark or Kafka to stream the updates into Couchbase. Here, we're just using, for the price updates, our own simple load generator. I should mention that if you're curious, all of the code that we're running here is available on GitHub. So we'll tweet out the link to that. If you look at the code and you think that's nice, probably Matt wrote it. If it's not so good, then maybe that was at my hand. OK, so as you said, Ravi, we've built a dashboard into the application. So hopefully we can see some of our investors and what they've been up to.
What are they up to? Oh, there.
So here we go. There was yours, Ravi. Tom, Mr. Dowling, Artem. OK.
All right,
and
lovely.
We're going to keep the markets open throughout the presentation.
CNET is hiding. Where is Dave is the question. I've seen it
I was
before.
expecting a lot of things, but I actually wasn't expecting a recruitment pitch right there and then. OK. Like I say, we'll be keeping the market open throughout.
Fantastic.
Now, alongside me today, I have Matt Carabine, one of our esteemed technical support engineers from just up the road in Manchester, who today is acting as our cluster administrator. So Matt, can you show us what the back end to this web app looks like?
Sure, Dave. So we can take a look here. We've created this nice visualization for you so you can see what it looks like in the back end. We've got 4 nodes here running Couchbase Server 5.5, the latest and greatest. You'll see we've got 3 data nodes and an index and query node. And all of these are running in Amazon's EC2. And beneath these, you'll see these little bubbles. And they might look a bit familiar from this morning's presentations. And these are the interactions. I mean, after all, Ravi, isn't this exactly what a system of engagement is all about? Totally.
I think so. What you're basically showcasing here is all the trades that people are placing here that represents the interactions. You haven't bought anything yet, but all those trades that you're placing over there, each one is an interaction. But Matt, this also looks like a regular day. Is that a peak volume situation where you can actually see a lot more interactions?
You're absolutely right, Ravi. And this represents all of the traffic, all of the browsing that's been done in the room right now. And we can push the cluster a little harder. This is Couchbase after all. So Matt, can you simulate a little more load?
Look at that.
And we'll see the applications burst. Now, when it comes to these interactions, think of the qualities that you like these interactions have when you're doing your browsing or using your services. You want it to be lightning fast, responsive. You want the content to be relevant, personalized to you, and available regardless if it's a Black Friday, a Christmas Day, a Valentine's Day, whatever. And you've all heard today how Couchbase is trusted by some of the world's largest organizations to run their most demanding mission-critical applications. And we're talking about millions of these interactions every single second across billions of documents, terabytes of data, all while providing a sub-millisecond response time.
Right? I think this is the core principle on which we sort of have stood the rest of the stuff around, which is performance at scale, or guaranteed performance at scale. And that's what attracts the Amadeus and some other larger houses to us, because your first user or your millionth user both have the same sort of personalized experience. One doesn't degrade because of the other. And that's achievable because of the linear scalability we have built into this, which comes from the memory and network-centric architecture and the sort of shared nothing distributed nature. And that's the sort of the bulwark of the whole platform. And what you're seeing here is that capability of being able to sustain this sort of rates where we have seen people use 7, 8 million ops per second. That's happening throughout the day, right? And that is something that you cannot sort of architect as an after fact. This is the core foundation on which the platform is built. And what you're going to see, like David mentioned, is that this is a very personalized interaction that needs to happen no matter what. So,
you're right.
How can you illustrate the no matter what part of it?
The only thing that's worse than a slow or unresponsive site
Yes.
is one that's not available at all. And you may have seen or read recently that one of the hottest games in the world at the moment, Fortnite Battle Royale, has been repeatedly offline due to reasons that they themselves cite as a non-scalable database in the back end. But we understand from time to time things do go wrong.
Things do go wrong.
The disk might fill up or the network goes offline. Maybe a clumsy administrator accidentally deletes the wrong VM. So in order to show you how Couchbase responds, we're gonna walk on Peter's high wire here. We're going to break something for your entertainment and watch how the cluster reacts. Now, in order to do this, we just need to find somewhere a clumsy administrator and...
There. Yeah, the clumsy administrator
Matt,
right there.
Thank you very much. And what we're going to do is have Matt take down one of the VMs.
All right.
So let's do it. Let's go to the Amazon Web Console and pick a node to kill. Ravi, give me a number between 2 and 2.
2 and 2. 2.
2 it is.
2 point.
Good choice.
No, sorry, 1 point. No.
So let's kill it.
So what you're going to see now is the node is going to go instantly down. We've deleted it. The interactions are going to be automatically retried by the SDK, and within 5 seconds, the Couchbase Cluster Manager detects that the node is down and then promotes the replica copies of the data on the other applications. That node has now been failed over, and the interactions...
I hope you all noticed that the interactions paused for a little bit, and then it picked up. And that's exactly what's happening in terms of its routing to another node within 5 seconds. So that way the interactions are not gone or delayed to a point where it is of no use. Instead, the cluster sort of figures out a way to heal itself and bring the sort of the rest of the traffic to the existing other partitions where the data sort of a replica is kept and available, so it can continue to function despite a node failure. And the more care is done into this one in terms of where you place the nodes. We have sort of rack and zone awareness and stuff like that to reduce this possibility. A switch failure or a whole network or a zone or a availability zone failure kind of stuff. Same principle applies, and the site will still be up.
Yep. And all of the features that we're about to show you of the Couchbase data platform are built on these core foundations of scalability and availability. Now, let's talk a little bit about the data. I mentioned that the documents you were generating are JSON documents for the price updates for the portfolios. Like, we're surrounded by data. But how do we make sense of it all? How do we use that data to our advantage to be able to deliver a better customer experience? Now, in order for the data to tell us something,
yes,
we have to ask it questions.
Absolutely.
We have to query the data. Take our stock application. What questions might you like to ask? Things like, what's the hottest ticket? Which are the most popular stocks right now?
I would like to know how my $500 is doing.
Ravi's desperate to know how his 500 pounds, Ravi.
Pounds, sorry. Euros or pounds. I shall.
Yes. How is the 500 pounds doing? Furthermore, how's it doing compared with everyone else in the room?
Yes.
Also, maybe a slightly deeper question. What time of day do my London users like to make their investments? Because maybe that would be a good time to serve them some ads. Now consider, how would you answer these questions on your data set with your applications today? Sometimes the answer has been to install a separate piece of technology, export your data to it, run the queries there to get your answers. Alternatively, maybe it's do it yourself. Maybe it's your own application logic to read out your documents. And so as you heard in the morning, Couchbase includes Nickel, a powerful query capability that lets you run these kind of ad hoc questions across your data set. So let's take a look, Matt.
So here I'm just going to go to the Couchbase server. Dave, there's this node sitting around. I thought it failed.
It has failed. It just needs removing from the cluster now. It's serving no purpose.
But this isn't automatic. OK, well, I'll rebalance this out, and then we can query. So what I want to do here is let's find, I don't know, all the technology companies. And this is pretty simple. We can select company from CBSE, our bucket, where sector equals technology. Oh, and there's a problem with my iCloud. And there we go, we can see Apple, ACM Research.
And so a wise man once mentioned this morning, Ravi, that even though this is NoSQL, that looks an awful lot like SQL to me.
Yeah, I don't know who that wise man is, but you know, this looks awfully like a SQL to me, and it's done in purpose, right? I mean, this is a language that's well understood, so you can do this for a very first time in a document database. So it's a document relational database is how we can call ourselves, instead of using the moniker NoSQL, which doesn't really tell you what it is about. It tells you what it is not, but it doesn't tell you what it is. What we have really done is take the document data model, and to that bring the power of SQL, which we built the entire query engine, and the query language is built on the generalized relational algebra, which I was talking about. The whole field is called N1NF, which is non-first normal form representation of data, which is what a JSON really is. And then apply the SQL to it. The power, the real opposable thumb of this whole thing was JSON, was join, which is what we introduced a couple of years ago, to which earlier in the day Scott brought attention to the ANSI joins that we have really added to that thing. Now it's got capabilities which is pretty much at par with what relational systems can do. So can we showcase something more here?
Well, let's try and answer one of those questions that Dave asked earlier.
Yeah.
You know, what's our most popular stock? So here, again, one I made earlier, we have this query which is designed to gather information for us.
Sure.
And we can see, similarly to the previous query we ran, we've got the select, the where, the from, but we have a few of these extra extensions we've added schemas, to SQL, as you mentioned, Ravi. So we have the unnest to query hierarchical data, and this ANSI join right here. So what we're doing is we're joining together two documents which have the same ticker symbol.
Perfect.
So if we run this, we should see what our most popular stock is.
If we switch to the table view, sometimes that's a...
Alphabet Inc.
Okay.
Netflix, see?
A lot of people watching Netflix. Okay.
I know how to pick a winner here.
So
please.
The query workbench here in the, is fantastic for being able to prototype your queries and being able to get quick insight into what your data is telling you. Now, we can use queries exactly like this one to find out things like build leaderboards into the application that are going to tell us, for example, since we opened the market earlier, which stocks are performing the best. Great news.
Corp.
Great news if you invested in Base Corp, they're headed in the right direction.
Lovely.
So yeah, the ones here on the left-hand side of the screen are having a good day. If you're big into Malibu boats, I'm really sorry. Looks like they're sinking. Sorry. And similarly, another kind of query where we can take your JSON documents with your stock portfolios, extract the stocks and the number of units based on the purchase price at the time, join those with the live price documents, sum them to get a profit or loss, and then group order them so we get across the board, basically the moment of truth to find out how each of our investments are doing and who's in the lead at the moment. AFS. AFS out there anywhere? Okay, good news so far. Let's hold on to that. The markets, stock prices may go up and down.
All right.
Whereas I'm afraid Rich Sky, he's having a poor time of it, and owes us about £140 actually.
All right.
Rich, where's Rich?
Rich.
He's gone to
someone up there.
I thought he'd gone to the cash machine. Okay.
Actually, wrong name there. He's poor. Anyway.
So we'll come back to this. We'll keep the markets open a little longer. Now, so that's query. The ability to gain rapid insights into your data set.
Perfect.
Built right into the Couchbase UI, all deployed whilst the application was running, and no need to export your data elsewhere.
Yes.
Now,
if you really wanted to do this in a NoSQL system in the past, you'd be running pages of those squiggly braces and brackets and stuff like that. But here, literally showed you in the query workbench, it's about 6 lines of code that you're actually performing this leaderboard, which requires a complex join and summation of all the stocks that they've actually purchased and come up with that number. So it's a fairly sophisticated query that's happening to give you this sort of a leaderboard of which investor is doing really well, which is another sort of facet of looking. Earlier you saw which stocks were doing well. Now you're looking at which investors are doing well. These are the kind of questions that you're actually looking at the documents and asking when a market opens. These are sort of the reports that are running in the background, which is what we're trying to simulate here. So
that's NCCL, and NCCL is fantastic for dealing with the semi-structured data that you get with JSON. But in a system of engagement, often the content that we're dealing with is unstructured, natural language. It's product descriptions or product reviews, blog entries, forum posts, tweets, and the like.
Correct.
And often, in order to be able social content. Correct. And in order to be able to serve users the most relevant content, something like a Google-style full-text search is often more appropriate to be able to serve the most relevant content based on the scoring and the matching it does. Now, again, ask yourselves the question, how would you take an existing application and add search capability to it? Now, for a long time, the default answer to that has been to do what we said before, to install a separate piece of search engine technology and to be responsible for maintaining, administering, licensing that technology, export your data to it so you have a second copy of your data set, deal with the inconsistencies, and your developers have to learn 2 different APIs to talk between the 2 of them. Now, Matt, can you show us how we can add search to the application in Couchbase?
Of course, Dave. And it's trick, it's pretty easy. So in true Blue Peter style, here's one I made earlier. I spun up a node in Amazon's cloud, and now I want to add it to my cluster as a search node. So I start off, do you want to join a cluster? I tell the node, hey, what cluster do I want to join? So this really long host name, which I definitely didn't remember. The credentials to join, and the services. So in this case, just search. And then I can join, take a couple of seconds, and then we can rebalance this in. And hooray, we can search. Well, not quite. We don't yet have an index to be able to search on. Yes. But the good news is it's easy to make one. We can actually do this directly from the Couchbase Server UI. So if we go to the full text search, we add an index. And call it English because who knows, we might want to add internationalization to our stock exchange in future. I'm always thinking ahead, Ravi.
If this demo's a success, we're taking it on the road.
I know.
We can specify a few other things. So the language you want to analyze, in this case English, but we can do things like Spanish, French, because they all have different natural stemming and other things. And store dynamic fields. This lets us basically have a nice matching highlight. So it'll take a couple of seconds to build this index. And
so
when
the
it's done,
being built. Right
and
now,
it looks like we've
worked
worked very hard to make this a few clicks on the UI. The ease of management is critically important. But actually, when it comes to building the index, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, Ravi.
Yep. So I think what you really actually saw there was instead of separately installing, administering, deploying within 3 clicks and a couple of keystrokes, he actually brought online a search service, right, which is basically a search system, an information retrieval system now working alongside a data retrieval system. And the next thing that we had to do out there when we started was to actually create the index. It's actually, used to call them crawlers, which actually are looking inside the data. They're pulling each document out, and within that looking for tokens, as we would call them. So it's tokenizing whatever the content, because remember, JSON is human readable. It could be treated as a Word document that you're reading. So you can now look inside that, and you're able to sort of parse that, stemming, lexical analysis, all that stuff is actually happening inside it, and we're building what we call as an inverted index, which is basically goes by the number of times a term is repeated inside a document. So it's called term frequency, inverted document frequency, TF-IDF is what it's called. So we're building that whole stuff. That's why it's taking that time back, and it's happening. Every term is being, if you're searching for a RAN, and somewhere in the document is the word running, it'll still match. So that's because it's I'm not very good with English grammar, all those present and past and participles and all that stuff. It just brings it down so that you know the root. And then if you're searching anything that, it'll actually be able to search and bring that. It's the fuzzy logic nature of it. That's why it's called information retrieval. It's not looking for the exact match. It's looking for the surrounding stuff. That's all the stuff that was happening in the back. Now show us how it's
Let's actually retrieve this information, Ravi.
Yes, retrieve some.
So let's search for ink. So we've got Autodesk ink. Great, found another stock. Baidu.
Baidu.
I don't have jokes for all of these, by the way.
No, we don't.
The well has run dry.
Sorry.
Great, so we can search for them. The index looks like it's working, Dave, but our users aren't actually going to log into the Couchbase Server UI and do this, right?
Of course. So again, using the UI to prototype, to build the index, to check it's working. And now if we go back to the application, and again, if you refresh your page, you should see this live on the site. We have a search bar now. Instantaneously, that can call down into...
Fantastic. We just added search to the application. You know, by doing those stuff, it's auto-discovering and it's actually adding itself to the application.
I'm going to search for corporation, and there you can see...
That's not how you spell it, Dave.
Ravi, is that how you spell it in the US?
That's Queen's English, I suppose.
No, okay. Okay. But that doesn't matter because...
Two great countries divided by a common language. That's where we are at. So
full text search deals with fuzzy matching, and it knew better than I did how to spell the word.
It's actually even auto-corrected the spelling and then gave you the right answer. Great. So all that stuff is happening because, you know, we have more than a clumsy administrator here. I mean, someone who can't type properly. So, I mean, that's... that's where the autocorrect, autocomplete, all those kinds of features you can build, because you're not going to be searching into an application like this by actually typing for a corporation by its symbol. You'll basically look for something that you know about the company. Base maybe is what you'll search for, not Base Corp, Inc., and the whole thing, or whatever the symbol for Base Corp is. You may not remember those things. That's when it just comes. I mean, today, if you go start typing for, in the US at least, STAR, it will automatically suggest to you the nearest Starbucks. It's doing a lot of stuff behind the scene, as in collaborative filtering, geocoding, a whole bunch of stuff. It's not showing you the Starbucks headquarters information. It shows you the nearest Starbucks you can go to. So there's a lot of information that it actually processes and gives you. So you can build an application of that nature because we are bringing the data retrieval and information retrieval into one platform. So what you got to see was that piece in action, a small sort of window to that with stuff like autocorrect, which is what the corporation actually demonstrated for us.
All right. Let's keep this thing moving. So we've shown you query, we've shown you full text, how we added those capabilities live on the fly, all while you continued to invest to browse the stocks. No need to install any separate technology. Data stayed where it was. Now, both of these features acted upon the existing data, the data that we already had, the data that we knew we wanted to capture. So what if we want to add a capability of data that we don't have? What if we want to extend the schema? Now, Ravi, let me pitch you a fictitious scenario. Mm-hmm. We've shipped V1 of the product.
Yes.
And the CTO of this hypothetical stock trading company,
yes,
the CTO, comes in with a brand new demand of his diligent but overworked engineering team.
CTOs typically don't do that. Personal experience, but.
And the feature request is this. It wants to know, how are the investments doing based on geography? How are my European investors doing compared with my US investors?
Totally. That's the kind of question I would like to ask.
Now, it was hypothetical, Ravi.
Hypothetical.
Now, as we've done with the other capabilities, we can build the dashboard into the product that tells us how each of the different geographies are performing. And here you are, Ravi. Are you happy with that?
Oh, fantastic. I absolutely can see it. Where is the geo information on this one?
Of course. So when we captured the investments, that data wasn't captured at the time. It wasn't in the schema. So we knew this in advance, mm-hmm, and we built the application to anticipate the absence of the data and treat it as unknown as we have here. So Matt, can we go to Couchbase and change just one of the documents and extend the schema of one of the documents to include a geography?
Of course, Dave. So for all of you out there, I've made this a bit clearer. I've put the Couchbase Server UI side by side with the geo leaderboard so that you can see, as I make these changes live, what effect that has on the application. So if we go to the documents, let's find a... let's find an order.
Taking serious. Please start typing furiously in your mobile phones.
So we can find something.
Lowercase.
Here we go.
All right.
So we have AFS's order. AFS was doing well. So let's set their geo. I mean, we're in London right now. Let's assume they're in EU. And so we can add this to the document. And when we save this, as if by magic.
Fantastic. Now you can see something up there.
So we extended the schema of one document, and the application was built ready for that change to take place. And this ability to prototype new application features on a small subset of the data without rolling out wide-scale changes is one of the fantastic joys of a system of engagement such
Fantastic.
as
So what
helps you build confidence that the application is behaving correctly.
What he's actually experimenting with in the parlance of people who are well-versed in databases, this is called schema evolution. So actually, he's testing the schema evolution out. You can do A/B if you want and see if this really works, and then I can sort of roll this out to the...
Exactly.
Are you going to search document by document and change those things?
I'm confident the feature's working, Ravi, so what we're going to do...
You're going to be skipping over that one? All right.
is apportion everyone in the room to a geography. Now,
oh, you're going to, okay.
We don't know where everyone's come from. London might be a good guess, but I happen to have it on good authority. There are a few Americans amongst us as well today, Ravi.
Sure.
So for the purpose of the demo, we're just going to do it alphabetically. If you're in one half of the alphabet, the first letter of your username, we're going to put you in the EU. The other half, we're going to put you in USA. Matt, do you want to do that?
Yep, let me just click through everybody's order. And obviously, I'm kidding. So we saw earlier how we can use query to select fields from documents. But actually, what's even more powerful is using this same language to actually update the documents. So I'm just going to go back to our familiar query workbench. And here we have a query which will set your geo to EU if you're earlier or equal to M in the alphabet. And I'm actually going to tweak that to USA. So when I run that, and I need to fix my syntax, that teaches me for doing it on the fly. And there we go. We have all of these USA investors. Delete star from CBSE, where type equals order. Good one.
Is that someone's username? Who's that? Who's that trying to bring us down? There's a usurper in the audience somewhere.
AAL.
We're still running.
All right.
And now we can just finish off this schema migration. So I'll set everybody else to EU. And again, there we go.
So there we go, Ravi. Brand new feature added live on the fly, all while the application was running, including schema extension.
Fantastic. And you're able to group the customers, people out there based on the US. Well, that's what we extended the schema and also showcased how it can be grouped.
It wasn't always this easy, was it?
It was never this easy. This is the place where you would actually call committees and subcommittees about adding one column here, how it'll impact your SQL, how it'll create all kinds of issues downstream and stuff like that, and paralysis analysis, right? That's what typically would happen. This feature would have taken 3 to 6 months before it really saw the light of day in the good old relational world. And so this is where the schema flexibility and the power of SQL comes into play. And the beauty here is that JSON is what you're seeing. Most of the object manipulation, the data manipulation you're seeing on the screen, that's what's on the network, and that's what's exactly stored on the database. So all the impedances are gone, and so you could do that A/B kind of testing from one place. So this is the schema evolution in action, which is within seconds that we could demonstrate on stage, which normally would have taken you weeks and months to bake if you were using standard relational systems.
Okay. So let's take a quick check on the most important thing, the leaderboard.
Absolutely.
Find out how we're doing. Test.
Test.
Congratulations, Test. I tell you what, that's a tidy profit though on the £500.
Fantastic. I like
3x.
nickel rocks.
And is that Jan? Is that Jan from this? Unfortunately, again, not a great day, but the market is going to stay open for a little longer. So
hey, I'm showing up in the leaderboard over there.
Ravi,
good.
You're not doing too badly.
Not
You're not
too
doing
badly.
too badly at all. Okay. Now, let's change tack slightly. Ravi, what kind of mobile phone do you carry?
I'm an iPhone kind of guy.
Of course. And how long do you spend on it?
Way too much. I'm away from sort of the work, but I'm always working. So most of the time, taking care of both personal and work stuff is on the phone, on the move, untethered, but tethered to my iPhone.
And this is true of many of you, surely. And when it comes to a system of engagement, the experience delivered on the mobile is of critical importance. You may have heard the phrase frequently, mobile first. But saying it is one thing, delivering it is quite something else. A number of obvious challenges with mobile. One is, how do you coordinate the data on your mobile device with the data of the web application? Dealing with the mobile being offline, even in today's massively connected society, anyone that commuted here on the tube will know that you go long periods without any signal, any connectivity.
You go dark.
And so writing the synchronization is actually rather difficult, dealing with network timeouts, retries, failure logic, etc. And these are the problems that Couchbase Mobile is designed to solve. So firstly, it works seamlessly with your existing web applications. So no need to change the data, no need to change your application code. The data is available on the device, whether you're online or offline, and we provide the synchronization for you. So that should be less time writing the mundane synchronization code and more time spent on the app and delivering that customer experience. So in order to demonstrate this, we've written a simple mobile app. Excitingly, it's running live on Matt's very own phone at the moment. So Matt, do you want to show us what it looks like?
So here on the right-hand side, we can see a pretty simple mobile app we've written to kind of showcase the power of Couchbase Mobile. And on the left, we have the website. The idea of this is so you can see, hey, as prices update on the website, you can also see them update on the phone. So let's find a stock. Let's say, oh, Activision's up there. We can see, OK, that's just changed to £64. And there we go. We can see it on the mobile too. And so, you know, it's pretty simple application. We see the company and the prices.
Sure. What happens when you take it offline, Matt?
Well, when we take it offline...
Like you're on the tube.
Like I'm on the tube. When we take it offline, we obviously can't synchronize that data anymore. So we no longer get these live updates. If we look at Activision Blizzard now, they're at 64.13, whereas on the mobile, they're 64.16. What we can do is, because all this data is stored natively on the device, as Ravi said, you need the data on the device. We can actually still use the features that we built into the web app. So for example, the filtering. So here, I'm going to filter for technology companies. So here now we can see just the technology companies we have. And we also can have full text search. So let's search for Base Corp.
Ooh, there they are.
All right.
They're doing quite nicely.
Now, OK, company and price is all right. But we actually want to know a little bit more. And being the shrewd app developer that I am, I know Ravi's a shrewd investor, I've already built this into the app. So we can see extra information about the company.
Profile information of the company.
So the ticker symbol, the sector, and so on.
So Matt, can we repeat what we did before? You know, when we extended, we added some brand new data. Can we do that and show how that affects the mobile application?
Sure, it makes sense to maybe tell some more about Base Corp here. So what would you want to know, Dave, about a publicly listed company?
I don't know. Who's running them? Who's in charge?
Who's running them? Who's their CEO?
Who's the big cheese?
Well, we can pull up the Couchbase doc here. And we can see this JSON structure, which underlies all this information we can see in the web app. Now, obviously, we all know who the CEO of Base Corp is, right, guys? That's right. It is Mark. Actually, I reckon it's not too difficult being a CEO. It's just a bunch of meetings, a couple of parties.
Totally. Basically it.
I mean, you guys said put the power back in the hands of developers, right? There we go. I'm going for it. And so now, when we look on the web application, we can see I'm still not CEO, Dave.
Have you come off the tube?
Oh, yeah, I'm still on the tube. So I can come off the tube, wait for the Wi-Fi to sync. Hopefully it doesn't take too long here. OK, price updated. And there we go, Dave. I'm going up in the world.
Lovely. Fantastic. So there's a self-appointed CEO now, which is all good. But let me remind you, with great power comes great responsibility. All those meetings are yours.
So that's Couchbase Mobile in a nutshell.
Absolutely.
Syncing the data from the web application to the data in your pocket, whether online or offline, using powerful Nickel and full text search that we showed you. And Ravi, this is a capability that no one else can provide.
Nobody else can do this thing. Because the one other piece which should not be sort of trivialized here is the fact that the mobile application, what you saw was just a display element that just changed, which is we just added a CEO. But that's a schema evolution, which is getting pushed to the device. If you program this correctly, your entire mobile application can change without you ever having to go and update your mobile app on the App Store and the whole cycle of sort of maintaining all your different artifacts, different versions of apps and stuff like that. Because Schema is also sort of data now. And so it sort of simply flows through. You can add fields, which could be input fields, from which you can take further data in, and that can be synced back up. So this enables you to completely sort of manage your mobile application centralized from one place, because you're manipulating schema and data all in one fly. And then the rest of the same paradigms of a query and a search can be sort of applied on the device as well. So this is fairly sophisticated capability. We used to call this DLL hell back in the day, when if you made that change, you would have had to update your mobile application. That means millions of devices have to be updated. All that pain is gone if you program correctly, where you have the right levels of abstraction, so that way you can do this on the fly. So it's a phenomenal capability that you showcase here. David, what else you got?
Well, quick time check. The market's about to close, and more importantly, the bar's about to open.
Totally.
But there is one more feature we'd like to show. So we've spoken a lot about how the features of Couchbase data platform make the developers' lives easier. But what about the administrators, the DevOps guys, the unsung the CEOs, the unsung heroes that are keeping the lights switched on when I'm tucked up in bed? Ravi, you're probably on a flight somewhere.
I don't want to know anything about this.
What can we do to make their lives easier? And this is why we're delighted to announce the Couchbase Autonomous Operator that makes the administrators' lives a whole heap easier. Deals with auto-provisioning of a cluster, auto-scaling of a cluster, and self-healing of a cluster.
Lovely.
Matt, can we take a look?
Wait, Dave, is that actually what it's called, the Couchbase Operator? You mean when people were saying how great it was, they weren't talking about me?
Kubernetes.
Okay, well, so here I'm going to bring up the Couchbase Web Console, and you can see this cluster is a little bit different to the one we saw earlier. It looks roughly the same. We've got 3 data nodes, an index and query node, and a search node. But what's different is this is running in Kubernetes. And what's very different is the way that we brought this cluster about. So you saw earlier how I was clicking around, copy-pasting host names, clicking services. Here, all I did was I told the Couchbase operator, this is the cluster I want. I want these nodes with these services and these buckets. And the Couchbase operator did the rest for me.
And how about getting data into the cluster? Is it possible to take the data from our current stock application and put it into this one?
Yeah, you're right, Dave. Of course, what good is a database without any data in it? As here, you can see it's empty. So what we want to do is we want to move, as Dave said, the data from our existing application into this new cluster. And so the way we're going to do that is using Couchbase Server's cross-data center replication feature, which is easier to use than it is to say. So I'm going to go to our original cluster, go to the XDCR tab, and first I'm going to tell the original cluster about our new one. So not Lubernetes. Enter the host name, which I've conveniently got written down here, and the credentials.
What he's actually doing here is what in the marketing terminology called bursting out for capacity. So it's as simple as 3 clicks here, and then you can do all this bursting out for capacity. What he's doing is actually moving data from...
Well, not quite yet, Ravi. First, I need to put the replication in place. So don't jump the gun.
Well, keep doing it while I talk about this thing.
So I'm just going to fill in the bucket I'm replicating to and the bucket I'm replicating from. And when I've done that...
This is when it begins.
OK, looks like it's replicating. Let's double check. Aha, data's coming in.
Now we're bursting.
Now we are bursting.
Now we're bursting.
I was bursting ahead a little bit. Right? Anyway, this is where these guys keep me honest. So I don't do the marketing. But basic point is that it's just 3 clicks, and you move the data from your data center on-prem cloud to something that's running in any cloud. And we are cloud agnostic, so this could be your favorite public cloud provider, and that's what we have done. And the further magic of what's going to happen here, give us a prelude to that before Matt goes to work.
So the XDCR, the cross-data center application that we showed there, used for a migration here. Other customers often use it to upgrade to a brand new cluster. It can be used for high availability, keeping a secondary live copy of your cluster in case there's a catastrophic problem at the former, or geographic locality, so that the data from your New York cluster is pushed to your London cluster.
Right.
Again, so your London users have low latency, a better browsing experience.
And you can filter while doing all this stuff. You don't have to move all the data. You can keep your EMEA data in one place and your Americas data in the other place, and you can filter the data across, so you're not moving everything across. So all that is built into the XDCR capability.
So back to the autonomous operator, and now we have data in the cluster. Let's say we want to scale it up to meet some increased load. Can you show us how we do that?
Well, if we take a look at our cluster, Couchbase is famed for its high availability, but shame on us. We've only got one index and query node, so let's add a new one. And this time, I'm not going to log into another server to do that. I'm just going to edit that definition I mentioned earlier. So I do that within Kubernetes itself.
And those of you that saw the Red Hat presentation earlier, is basically changing the YAML file, as was described on the excellent talk.
So I'm now going to say, hey, operator, can I have 2 index and query nodes? And I'll show you when I'm done.
OK. Hands off the keyboard, Matt.
Let's see if something happens here.
So what we're going to see in the background, the Couchbase autonomous operator is going to recognize that that definition file has changed. It now needs to spin up a new node in the background. It takes a little while to bring up a fresh instance with the Couchbase operator. There it is at the bottom of the screen. And what's happening now is it's live rebalancing that in, and it's done.
Done. Did you see that magic? Literally, as in he walked away. All I did was go to the yet another markup file and change the number of index and query nodes from 1 to 2. And the rest of the magic just happened, which is to recruit a box, sort of have the Couchbase image in it, add it to the cluster, and rebalance. So that way, this query node is now operating on all the data that is sitting there. So from 2 to 3 is what he, sort of 1 to 2 is what happened there in terms of adding a node. That's for extra capacity. You can actually program this so that you can, if you know a standard pattern, like every Friday there is more traffic, you can actually burst out and burst it back in. Like
You're bursting again, Ravi.
Yes, I'm bursting away.
So for the final piece we'd like to show you, we'd like to revisit that, the failure scenario that we showed before and show how this differs with the Couchbase autonomous operator. So again, we're going to need to find ourselves a clumsy Matt, and let's do the same thing again. Can we go to the Amazon console and take down one of the VMs of our Kubernetes cluster here?
I can certainly try, Dave. So
do I get to pick a number?
As long as it's between 1 and 1, yes.
Oh, OK. 1 then.
1 it is. OK, so same again. We're just going to terminate this instance, nuke it. And so when we do that.
OK, so the node has gone down.
What's the time, Dave?
We're on just after 5:30.
Are you kidding? I'm supposed to finish 10 minutes. I need to get my train. I'm off. Good luck with the rest of it. I'm really sorry. No, good luck.
He's got a company to run.
This is what happens when you have clumsy administrators. Now you need software to recover from these kind of disasters.
I don't think he's coming back.
He's not. He's literally walking away.
But that's OK.
All right.
Hopefully the autonomous operator's got our back.
I don't need to know, as long as you got this covered.
The node is going to be failed over, and and then again that'll be the same as before. We're going to promote the replica copy, and the autonomous operator is going to kick in,
recruit a new node,
and apply it to the cluster. Just going to give it a gentle kick.
I think we really need Matt back here. So. I think got to hit the rebalance button, maybe. Lost connection to the server. It's a local Wi-Fi problem, nothing to do with the software and stuff here. So there, I told you there is a... All right, so anyway, what we tried to showcase over there was the autonomous operator coming to the rescue in this situation where a cluster's failure is detected of one of the nodes, and it basically goes and recruits another node, which you already specified to be of the container type Couchbase, adds it to that cluster, rebalances that, so it sort of auto-heals the cluster back to health, where David is valiantly trying to see if that can be sort of recovered. This has to do with the network connectivity being goofy.
I'll give it one last
try, otherwise we will call it a victory anyway. And exit stage left, gracefully.
OK. Right, well, one final act that we've got to do.
Yeah.
We're going to reward our patient investors.
The virtual 500 pounds is coming.
Now. And for one last time, let's bring up the leaderboard. So no more stock price updates. And OK, so first of all, RongoDB Would you like to identify yourself? We have a prize.
RongoDB is doing it remotely, looks like. He's using the mobile app.
Yeah, okay. In which case, I'm going to give it to Zyatech. Who do we have that entered the name of Zyatech? There we are. So congratulations.
Fantastic.
We have a bottle of champagne for you to reward you for investment. Tim? Zyatech up there. And
Rich Sky.
And for commiserations to Rich Sky, who has actually lost us to the tune of £350. We take Bitcoin, PayPal, and we have a very cheap bottle of champagne for you to commiserate with. Eugene? Okay. So what we've seen, Ravi, is
Did you see how gracefully we exited from that? I just wanted to point out.
That's
the app is still running, though.
The app is still running.
This is the graceful part, actually.
Someone is having too much fun out there. So this brings an end to our journey. We started with a very simple web application.
Way too much fun is being had
Built on
here.
the foundations of scalability, high availability. We added full text and nickel capability. We showed how the mobile device
or the data synced.
data synced automatically to the device in your pocket. We extended the schema, all while the application was running, all on the fly, all in around 30 minutes.
Too much distraction going on over there. But thank you so much, David, for a phenomenal. Give it up for our efficient.
Thanks for having us, Ravi.
Yes, fun as usual.